Hi guys, Darth Deuce here back in our Star Wars The Black Series figure review. Today taking a look at 4 different figures. We are taking a look at the Star Wars The Black Series Gaming Greats Delta Squad Republic Commandos from the Star Wars Republic Commando video game. I figured I'd just take a look at all of these figures at the same time instead of doing individual reviews because they're all pretty much the same figure. And yeah, super happy that we got Delta Squad in Black Series 6-inch. These are honestly some dream releases for me. I never thought we would get these guys released in 6-inch Black Series. I just didn't think Hasbro would ever make them. And yeah, I think personally they are really great figures. I know these releases are pretty, I don't know if controversial is the right word, but I know a lot of people weren't too pleased with these releases, as all of the figures do utilize the Hunter mold as the base body mold. And some people thought that wasn't very good reuse, that the bodies are too thin. And they're definitely not the peak Commando figures they could have been, I suppose. They definitely don't have quite that bulkiness. But they're still, I know, for me, I think they're still pretty good. The Hunter mold, I know Hunter wears standard Commando armor. That these guys would wear, in theory, would wear the same armor. They might be on a little bit on the thin side, but I think they're still proportionally still not too bad. I think they all look great for the most part. They're all very well articulated. That Hunter mold is a really fun figure articulation wise, and I think overall these guys are great. But we'll take a look at each of them individually here, and I will compare them with some of the older 3.25-inch figures, and we'll take a look at how they, in the order of their release, I suppose. And the first one they released was Boss. He came out very late 2021. I think I technically had him in 2021, but I wasn't around at the end of the year when he would have been delivered to me, so he was sitting around in a warehouse in the courier warehouse until 2022 before I got my hands on him. But he's the first one they did, and I think he's great. Boss, it's hard to pick a favorite among these guys. I like them all pretty equally in terms of their characters. I will say Boss is probably my favorite just because he's the one you play as. He's the leader and all that. But pretty good. They took the Hunter body mold, repainted it, and then Boss was the first one to use the new Commando helmet sculpt, which I think looks really great. I really like the metallic blue visor. I think it looks really good. And then I think Boss's orange markings look pretty good as well. He's got the rank dots there. I like how they kind of weathered up the markings to make them look kind of worn, which is cool. All the paint apps are pretty neatly applied. He does have a little bit of weathering that they apply. They put some splotches of weathered paint. All the figures do have that, luckily, so that is consistent among all the releases. And yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Of course, people were saying like they wish the shoulder pads were a bit larger or a bit better. A new mold, I guess. That would have been nice, but I think they still work pretty good in my opinion. Yeah. Not too much to say. I just really like this. I think it looks good. I do think it looks good, honestly. Articulation-wise, they all share the same articulation. They have a dumbbell joint in the neck, which gives pretty good range of motion considering the helmet design. You have hinges in the shoulders that move really well and rotate. There's also a bit of a butterfly. It's not too crazy, but it is there. And all the shoulder pads have that newer kind of ring piece sandwiched in, so they'll move with the joint, which is good. Single hinges at the elbows move a bit past 90 and they rotate. Swivel and hinge in the wrist. This one goes up and down. This goes, or in and out rather. This one goes up and down, which is good for blaster poses. Torso joint doesn't go forward that much, goes back a little bit. Pivots pretty well and rotates. Hips that go all the way out. Spread out pretty far. Well hidden swivel cut at the thigh where the armor is, which is nice. Single hinges in the knees that go 90. And then hinges and ankles that go up a fair amount, down an okay amount, and pivot. So the articulation works really nicely. You can get these guys in a lot of really great poses, which is a huge plus for these guys. They kind of have the articulation I always wish the 3.25-inch figures had. So that's really good. In terms of Boss's accessories, they all come with a backpack and a gun of some kind. Boss just has a reuse of the Commando blaster that Hunter came with. Unfortunately, it is way too small, or maybe not way too small, but it's definitely undersized. It looks too small. Nicely sculpted. He holds it well, but yeah, it's just, I don't know why they made the Commando blasters in Black Series so small. Comparing it with the 3 3/4 inch Commando rifle. You can see they're almost the exact same size. That's kind of crazy. But now that I have the 3 1/4 inch boss, here is the boss that came in the 4-pack like over 10 years ago now. Forgive the fact that all my Commandos, their torsos are yellowing, which really kills me. I really hate that they're yellowing because these are some of my favorite 3 3/4 inch figures. But what can you do, I guess? They're getting old, and they're clone troopers that have white armor and they yellow, which sucks, but is what it is. But you can get the gist here, how they look. And yeah, I definitely prefer the 3 1/4 inch for its sculpt, or I prefer the 3 3/4 inch sculpt rather. And I think the weathering on the 3 1/4 inch is a little better. But honestly, for bulkiness and proportions, the Black Series and the 3 1/4 inch really aren't that much different in terms of, you know, how they look proportionally. Honestly, I think people are kind of blowing the whole proportion thing a little out of proportion. I'm not trying to make a pun there. It's just how it came out. But yeah, the 3 1/4 ones, the orange is a bit lighter, a bit paler, I guess, and the Black Series one's a bit darker of an orange, which I think I actually prefer. I also prefer the metallic blue over this just light blue they used on the 3 3/4 inch. And then, of course, I prefer the articulation of the Black Series ones as well. The articulation is not bad on these 3 1/4 inch figures, but they have points of articulation that just hold them down at this point. The swivel hips being a big one that really holds these figures back. But there's them. So yeah. Next up is Sev. He's the next one I got, I believe. And he is probably my least favorite of the bunch in terms of the figure, not in terms of the character, but in terms of the figure. For these figures, even though they're supposed to be based off of the game, for these designs, a lot of them, well, pretty much most of them, or all of them, were based off of the Clone Wars, and this one's the most apparent one. They did appear briefly in the Clone Wars, and Sev definitely uses his Clone Wars look. He doesn't have any of the extra armor attachments he should have from the game. The paint detailing is different. Like, he doesn't have any red markings on his torso. The color of the red's a lot lighter, brighter and lighter, instead of a lot of a deeper red that was in the game. So yeah, there's that. I'm not a huge fan of that. He doesn't still look like fine. I think he still looks good. You know, it's still Sev. And I think the red markings that are there still look good. But yeah, when I do a comparison, you'll see what I mean. The one cool thing they did do with this figure, though, is that I believe the first time ever, Hasbro gave Sev the Commando rifle with the sniper attachment. I don't think we've ever seen that in Hasbro figures before from the 3 3/4 inch line or anywhere else. So that's super cool. Still a bit undersized, but it is cool that we got that, and it looks good. So very happy with that. But Sev is probably my least favorite of this set. But to show what I mean, here he is with the 3 3/4 inch one. And as you can see, the 3 3/4 inch one has a lot more of the red going on. It's a lot darker, a lot deeper. He has some of the red actually on the torso. It's a little hard to tell. And he also didn't have a full gray chest. He just had a little bit of gray on the front. And then you can see the little armor piece. This extra attachment for Sev is actually still not accurate. Sev is supposed to have more armor attachments than this, and the shoulder thing's supposed to look different. So even the 3 3/4 inch one wasn't accurate. But I do prefer the paint and the design of the paint on the 3 3/4 inch one a lot more. I think the markings just look a lot cooler than on the Black Series, but the Black Series one's still not too bad. Next up is Fixer, and Fixer is pretty cool, but also a bit weird. Again, kind of with that, supposed to be based off the game, but kind of also uses elements from the Clone Wars, and then it's kind of an amalgamation of the two. One cool thing is they actually did give him a new helmet mold, and the new mold has the antennae attachment that he has. So that's super cool, because even the old 3 3/4 inch figures didn't have that. So that's really nice. They also gave him a new backpack mold that has the kind of antennae array there going on. That's also super cool. We have seen that with the 3 3/4 inch before, but it's nice that they did this, because I definitely could have seen them just doing the repaint of the normal backpack. So that's nice to see. The green markings are pretty nice. They're a nice dark green, which I really like, but he doesn't have the two-tone green that the 3 3/4 inch figure has and that he had in the game. And he's also missing some green on the torso that I guess it's accurate that he doesn't have from the Clone Wars, but it's not accurate to the game. It doesn't bother me too much, and it doesn't bother me as much as I thought it was going to, but it does make the torso look a little plain, I guess. But still, overall, he looks pretty good. And he has the same blaster that Boss has, the normal standard commando rifle. I'm bringing in the 3 3/4 inch. You can see here, he has the green on the torso. He also has this really nice two-toned green where you've got this darker green, then with the lighter green that I think looks really nice. But you can see how they didn't give him the antennae on the helmet. So in terms of the paint, I do kind of prefer the 3 3/4 inch one a little bit, but I do like that this one has the helmet attachments. So, you know, pick and choose, I guess. Throughout the entirety of the Republic Commandos getting figures, I'm pretty sure almost every release of them, Black Series, dating back to their 3 3/4 inch releases, have had inconsistencies. So I don't know if there's ever been a fully 100% accurate release of the Commandos. But the last one, and probably my favorite figure-wise, is Scorch from the Black Series one. He's the one that was just released this year, maybe a month or so ago. I can't remember. But very happy to have him. Obviously, he did appear in the Bad Batch recently as well. But they did put the effort in with Scorch here. Scorch, I think, is definitely the best one they've done out of this team from the Black Series. I think the paint apps look really good. The weathering looks decent. The colors, I've always liked Scorch's yellow, black, and white. I thought that always looked really good. And I really like just how it looks. It looks really nice. They gave him his uniquely sculpted backpack with those little pipes going up or whatever that's supposed to be. So that's super cool. But they also gave him the extra anti-armor ammunition strapped to his thigh that the last 3 3/4 inch figure didn't even have. So that's super cool. And that looks really nice. I like that they include that. That's definitely game accurate. And they also gave him a newly sculpted commando blaster with the anti-armor attachment on it. Again, too small, but still super cool. They gave him his unique, or not his unique, but the one that he would be most known for having attachment on. That's super cool. And they actually painted up the gun pretty nicely. There's a few different paint apps on it, so that's really cool as well. But bringing in the 3 3/4 inch figure, the one that came in the 4-pack was pretty interesting. It looks nice, don't get me wrong. But they painted the strap for the extra ammo, but they didn't actually give him the extra ammo attached to his leg. And then they also decided to make, instead of doing the gray, they decided to make it like a full-on black. And it looks super cool. The black, yellow, and white looks really cool. But I think the gray is more accurate to the game and to every single appearance he's had in animation. So I do like the Black Series one look better. It's got the attachments. It's got the right colors going on. I do kind of like how they kind of made it look like he's got like soot or something from explosives on his helmet there that the other figures didn't have. I thought that was always cool. Yeah, I think the Black Series one, I think they did a really good job. And this one's definitely my favorite of the bunch. So there is the Black Series Gaming Greats Delta Squad alongside the newest iteration of the Delta Squad from 3 3/4 inch, which is over 10 years old now. I still love the 3 3/4 inch figures to death. They are still some of my absolute favorite 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figures, and would be some of the last figures to go if I ever had to sell them off my collection or anything like that. I still cherish those figures a lot. There's still some things I do like about them. I think when they came out, they were all new sculpts, and I think their sculpts are still superior. In some cases, in the case of Fixer and Seb, I think their paint apps are better. But I think the Black Series figures are really nice, and I think overall I do prefer the Black Series ones better because they're just funner figures. The articulation is all modern, and it's using a body where the articulation was really well done, so they're really fun to pose. I can get pretty much any poses I want out of them. Whereas with the 3 3/4 inch ones, I was quite limited, especially with like the swivel hips. There's just not much you can do with swivel hips on an action figure. So you're pretty limited on your posing for what you could do on the 3 3/4 inch ones. I think in some cases, the Black Series ones hold up in terms of how they look. There are things obviously I like them change. I wish there was more new molded parts that went into these figures. It'd be nice if the blasters weren't undersized, It would have been cool if they included the pistols, the Commando pistols from the game with all the Black Series ones to maybe justify the price point a little more. And they make a new sculpt and then they could reuse it 4 times. That would have been really nice. And then I know I'm grasping here, but having interchangeable hand to have the wrist vibroblade would have been super cool as well. But that's I would never expect that from Hasbro Black Series at this stage in the game. So that's just a kind of a dream. Would have been nice to have, but I doubt it ever would have actually happened. Do I recommend getting the Black Series set? It really kind of depends. If you can get over, if it doesn't bother you to use the Hunter mold, if you can get over that, and if you can get over the fact they're not going to be 100% accurate to the game, they're going to be kind of using elements from Clone Wars, elements from the game. And then if that doesn't bother you, like it doesn't bother me, then yeah, 100% recommend tracking these guys down. They are by far some of my favorite Clone Trooper figures I have in my collection. Probably some of my favorite Black Series figures I have in my collection. And I'm just super happy to have the entire squad assembled in 6-inch form. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And I'll see you all in the next one. May the Force be with you.